Yes.
Yeah. So you saying something that when a patient cannot respond with plus lens, then we can say that is accommodative spasm. So can you please repeat that part once again?
Sure. See, for accommodative flippers, so how many accommodative flippers, like in accommodative flippers, we are having the plus lenses and the minus lenses, right? So first we are placing the plus lenses in front of the patient's eyes, and then we place the minus lenses, right? So what is happening when we are keeping the plus lenses? What we are instructing the patient? We are instructing the patient to clear the plus lenses. So once he can clear the first word, you have seen, no, the word draw card, the first word is there. So the first word, if he can clear, he can see it clearly. So what is happening basically when we are keeping the plus lenses in front of the eyes? So it is creating a blur, immediate blur. Immediate blur will be there because it is relaxing your accommodation and it is creating immediate blur. But see, the patient is keeping the, suppose that it is, the patient is actually doing some kind of exercise, so the patient is keeping, suppose these are plus lenses in front of the eyes, the immediate blur will be there because the accommodation is relaxed. Then again, with after blinking we can clear the accommodation and again come back to the place. We will be able to like clear the plus. So after blinking, so it may take some 5 seconds, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, so it can take time like that. Okay, so once he can clear the word, so he is telling clear. So immediately when he's telling clear, I am flipping the flippers. Then the minus lenses are coming in front of the eyes. So now he is going to minus lenses, it is stimulating his accommodation, and we will see whether he can stimulate his accommodation also with the minus lenses. So if he can stimulate his accommodation, then what is happening? He will see it clear. So again, once I'm flipping with the plus, after the plus lenses, when I'm flipped and the minus lenses are in front. So again, like if he can, like if you can clear the minus lenses, so he will tell clear. So this is complete one cycle. This is complete one cycle. So once he clear the plus and the minus, so he might have problem in clearing either plus or a minus or both. He can have a problem. So as Meena was asking me, so in case of accommodative spasm, main problem is that my accommodation is too much, like it is stimulated too much, and I cannot relax my accommodation, right? I cannot relax my accommodation as there is lot of accommodative spasm, means it is too much stimulated, accommodation is too much stimulated. So in this accommodative facility testing itself we can find it out also, because if the accommodation is too much stimulated, the patient cannot clear the ward with the plus lenses because he cannot relax his accommodation. So is your doubt clear now? Yes. See, it is like in the Sheeman and Wick, the Sheeman and Wick, I'll share with you guys also. The Sheeman, according to Sheeman and Wick, I'll tell you. So, according to Sheeman and Wick, for a children of 7 to 12-year-old children, the base out for near, the break should be at 23, the recovery, sorry, accommodative facility testing you are talking, no? So that also, according to Sheeman and Wick, it will be around like for plus minus 2 flipper, it will be around something around 4 to 5 cycles, or say, like that only. For plus minus 1.5 flippers, it should be around 12 cycles per minute. Plus minus 1 flippers, it may be 14 or 15 cycles per minute. Okay. And for the step Vergence test, what we have discussed, step Vergence test, the basin for a children of 7 to 12-year-old, the normal break should be at 23 and recovery should be at 16. And there is also a plus minus 8 and plus minus 6 is a standard deviation. So anything plus minus 8 or 6, it can happen. So for a children of 7 to 12-year-old, basin for near it should be around, break can be at 12 and recovery at 7. So anything plus minus 5. In case of adults, the base out for distance, it may be around 11 at break at 11 and recovery at 7. Basin for distance, break at 7, recovery at 4. Base out for near, it is break at 19, recovery at 14. Basin for near, break at 13, recovery at 10. So there is always some standard deviation value. So yes, we can accordingly, if it is if along we can add the standard deviation value. So suppose it is 13 and there is a standard deviation value of plus minus 6. So it can be so 5 also, it is also not normal. Okay, it can be 13 plus 6 or 13 minus 6. So whatever it is value, if you are getting, that means it is normal. If anything outlying these numbers, that means it is not normal, it is abnormal. Okay. Okay, now we are going to begin with the AC by A ratio. AC by A, thank you, most welcome Shobhi. So AC by A ratio is an integral part in orthoptics clinic to measure. Why AC by ratio is so important to measure? Can anyone tell? Why do we need to measure the AC by A ratio? Yes. So what is an AC by A ratio? It is a ratio of accommodative convergence to accommodation, right? That means for one diopter of accommodation, how much diopter of accommodative convergence is required, or how much diopter accommodative convergence is happening, right? So that is a AC by A ratio. So the ratio of accommodative convergence to accommodation is the AC by A ratio. See, in the orthoptics clinic, there are two methods of measuring the AC by ratio, mainly the calculative method and the gradient method. So in orthoptics clinic, basically we do the calculative method only, because calculative method is easy to do and very less time to perform, and also it gives a quite good result. So the calculative method of AC by ratio is that AC by ratio is IPD. Yes, AC by ratio is important to diagnose and treat strabismus, definitely. Also for non-strabismic binocular vision disorders, AC by ratio also plays a very important role. Why? Because we can diagnose the disease. Okay. See, convergence insufficiency and a divergence excess may look same, right? So in convergence insufficiency, that means the patient cannot converge. The patient's eyes are divergent. Patient is having exophoria and all this. Divergence, convergence insufficiency and divergence excess. Divergence excess also, the patient is too much diverging his eyes. There is exophoria, exotropia also may be there. Intermittent exotropia may be also there. So how do you differentiate whether it is a divergence insufficiency or a divergence excess or a convergence insufficiency? So here the AC by ratio plays an important part, because for all insufficiency we know the AC by A ratio is lower value, has a lower value for all insufficiency cases, and for all excess cases, the AC by A ratio has a higher value. Okay. Also the amount of exophoria also depends, because for convergence insufficiency we'll get a near exophoria will be higher than the distance exophoria. In case of divergence excess, the distance exophoria will be higher than the near exophoria. So there are other parameters, other things also will be taking into consideration, but still AC by ratio plays an important role. Suppose you are getting a 6:1 AC by ratio, so we can think it, yes, it may be a excess case. If the AC by ratio is around 2:1, so the normal AC by ratio is 3 to 5:1. Means it can be 3:1, 4:1, or a 5:1. Anything lower than 3:1 is a less amount of, is a lesser AC by ratio, and 5:1, anything above that, it is a higher AC by ratio. So suppose the AC by ratio you got is 2:1. Yes, we can think that it may be an insufficiency case. So it helps us in diagnosing the what is the exact binocular vision anomaly. So it helps us a lot. So in a clinic, orthoptics clinic, what we are doing? We are doing the calculative method of AC by A ratio. So calculative method, it is so simple. Calculative method, how you are finding out AC by ratio is equal to IPD plus working distance in meter into near foria minus distance foria. IPD in centimeter. Okay, so you can measure the IPD very easily. Nowadays we are having AR, so in AR everything, so IPD already the patient it is getting measured. Otherwise you can measure the IPD with the scale. So IPD in centimeter it is required. Working distance in meter. Working distance in meter means where the patient is working. Suppose at 40 centimeter, so 0.4, 33 centimeter, 0.33. So 0.33 we can keep it as simple as 0.3. Okay, so either is a 40 centimeter, 0.4 or a 0.3 we can keep if the working distance is around 30 centimeter or 33 centimeter into near foria minus distance foria. So near and distance foria, how we are getting? We are getting the near foria and distance foria with the help of Maddox rod test. So Maddox rod test, it is a sensory evaluation test. So I have already discussed that Maddox rod test is a sensory evaluation test. So always we do this Maddox rod test before doing a cover test, because if you are like breaking the fusion, you will not get the exact amount of foria in Maddox rod test. So always we do a Maddox rod test first. First we do the Orthoptics rod test. We can do a stereopsis test also. Then we immediately do a Maddox. Then only we should break the fusion. Okay, is it clear to all of you? So Maddox rod test, we are getting the near foria and distance foria. So IPD in centimeter plus working distance in meter into near foria minus distance foria. Suppose we have got the IPD to be 60 centimeters. So, sorry, 60 millimeter, sorry, not 60 centimeters. 60 millimeter means what should be the IPD in centimeter? 60 millimeter means, yes, 6. It will be 6, right? IPD 60 millimeter IPD we have got means it will be 6. Suppose a working distance in meter is 40 centimeter. So in meter we have to convert 40 centimeter means is a 0.4. Then what is there? The formula near foria into, in bracket there is near foria minus distance foria, right? So what is the near foria? Suppose the near foria is 10 prism exophoria and the patient is having the distance foria is 2 prism exophoria. So always for exophoria we take it as minus. It's a crossed, right? So exo means crossed. So always you can remember that way. So exophoria we take it in minus. For esophoria if you are getting, so that we are taking in plus. So if the IPD is 60 millimeter, AC by ratio is equal to 6 plus, if the 40 centimeter working distance means, 40 centimeter working distance means it is a 0.4. 10 prism exophoria at near exophoria, that's why minus 10 and minus of minus 2 because 2 prism exophoria distance. Okay, so if the patient was having 2 prism esophoria distance, so it should be minus 10 minus of plus 2, like that. So the calculation is coming, you can see here, calculation is coming to be, it's very simple, you can see, right? Minus 10 minus of minus 2, that means plus 2. Minus 10 plus 2 means minus 8. So 0.4 into minus 8, it is 3.2. 6 and minus 8 is there, so minus 3.2 it will be. So 6 minus 3.2, it is coming to the 2.8. So the AC by A ratio for this patient is 2.8:1. Is it clear to all? Any questions? Please to tell me. This is the calculative method or calculation method. Normally in all our orthoptics clinic, we do this. We prefer to do this calculative method of AC by ratio. Any queries? Please do tell me. Yes? Any queries? Is it fine? The calculation, is it clear to all of you? Because if you're doing an orthoptic evaluation in your clinic, you should not make this mistake in plus and minus. Okay. So always keep in mind exophoria means minus. So we'll keep it as minus if it is a whatever it is exophoria. But if there is we are getting esophoria in Maddox, we'll keep it as plus. Okay. So the formula is IPD in centimeter plus working distance in meter into near foria minus distance foria. Okay, suppose a patient was having a 10 prism isophoria at near and 2 prism isophoria at distance. That means it will be plus 10. It's 10 minus 2. That's it. So 0.4 into 8. That means 6 plus 3.2 it would have been. So it would have been 9.2 inches to 1. So the AC by A would have been like this. Any queries? In the calculation of AC by ratio, any queries? Yes? Debolina, Choyan, Kirtana, Namrata, any queries? Pooja?
No, ma'am.
Oh, right. Now there is a gradient method. Gradient method is somewhat different. Gradient method, we like do it with a +1 and -1 lens. Okay, so gradient method we do not prefer to do basically in our orthoptics clinic. So example, if the near foria is 4 prism exo through the subjective finding, and with +1 it is 10 after exo, the AC by ratio is 6:1. How it is coming? Near foria is 10 prism exo. Okay, sorry, not 10 prism, 4 prism exo through the subjective finding. Means in Maddox we are getting, with the Maddox rod we are getting a 4 prism exo. So if we are not having the IPD of the patient, gradient method we can use it. Okay, gradient method is also okay, but always we prefer the calculative method. So with Maddox we are getting a 4 prism exophoria. Near foria is 4 prism exophoria. Then we are putting a +1 lens in the patient's trial frame and again redoing the Maddox rod test. We are putting a +1 lens in the trial frame and redoing the Maddox rod test. Now we have got a 10 prism exophoria. Okay. So AC by ratio, how it will be? 10 minus 4. That is the 6:1. This is a gradient method. Also, another example I'll give, if the near foria is 2 prism iso. So if their foria is an isophoria, we'll do it with a -1 and repeat it with the -1. If it is a exophoria, we'll repeat the test with a +1 lens. That is the thing. In gradient method, this way we are doing. So 4 prism exophoria we got in Maddox for near. Now we are repeating the test for near with a +1 lens. Now in the second example, you see there is a 2 prism isophoria we have got in near in Maddox, 2 prism isophoria. So we will repeat with a, now we will put a -1 lens from the trial frame and then repeat the test. Is it clear to you? Now with the -1 lens, suppose we are getting a 7 prism iso. So your AC by A ratio is 7 minus 2, that is 5:1. Is it clear to all of you? Any queries? Please tell me.
Ma'am,
Yes. Yes,
ma'am,
Meena.
in heterophoria method, suppose if the patient having hypophoria or hypophoria distance means which sign we have to put, ma'am?
Hypophoria and
For exophoria,
hyperphoria.
it's my
Hypophoria and hyperphoria. Maybe hyperphoria as a like as I'm not very sure about that. So in vertical spin in that case, so hyperphoria maybe we will do it with a +1 and maybe for hypo it with the -1. I'm not very sure about that. I have to see and tell. Heterophoria method. Okay, so these are the general 2 methods of AC by ratio that we do in clinic. So if you have a lot of time, you can do this gradient method and see how much it is like changing with the +1 lens or a -1 lens. So basically this method, no, the calculative method is a correct one, what we are getting in clinic, and always we prefer to do the calculating method because it is taking into account your IPD or working distance and the near and distance for your both. But for gradient method, you can see what we are using, only a plus and minus lens, that is the thing, and your near exo or a near ESO we are taking, and that's it. We're not taking the IPD into consideration. Okay. Okay, Meena, I'll just see and tell you. I am not very sure. I cannot comment on that hyper and hypophoria, how it is coming. So now the diagnostic part is covered. So it is we have covered how to do the test for accommodation and test for Vergence. We have covered it. Also, another thing I have here it is not mentioned. We use a Vergence flipper. So it is a 12 prism base out and 3 prism base in prisms. We test the Vergence facility. So Vergence flippers, not always we need to do like NFV PFV test is gives the more than enough result. Okay, Vergence flipper also sometimes we do to test the this thing Vergence facility. Okay, so all these Vergence tests, all these accommodation tests are completed. Now at the end, what we'll do, we'll find out the AC by ratio. So once the AC by ratio is found out, now your job is done. Now you are going to diagnose the case. You have to diagnose the case, whether it is a convergence insufficiency or a divergence excess or a divergence insufficiency or a convergence excess or a like accommodative excess, accommodative insufficiency, ill sustained accommodation, accommodative infacility. So all these things you have to judge it. So I'll discuss about all these cases in a different class. Okay, first we'll be talking about these exercises. So already we have crossed the limit of class, so we'll discuss it in the next class. We'll discuss about these exercises, what to be given for convergence and accommodation. Okay, then I'll move to the binocular vision anomalies part, means the non-strabismic binocular vision anomalies. So what are the characteristics for accommodative excess? What are the characteristics for accommodative infacility, convergent insufficiency, divergent insufficiency, or ill sustained accommodation? All these things we'll discuss in the next class. Okay, so any questions? So thank you all of you.